welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Megan and this is Weirdo Book Club. Last year, I started on a quest to find my particular flavor of dark romance, and in doing such, I started a little series. Welcome to the second installment of my dark romance diaries. Come along with me. This is the series where I pick 5 dark romance books from my spreadsheet. Yes, there is a spreadsheet. I read them, record in real-time updates along the way, and then come back and give you my overall spoiler-free thoughts on the books I just put myself through. The first installment was really fun. I'm a mood reader, and I tend to read many books at once, so it's really easy for me to do this format. Plus, I'm still very determined to find my flavor of dark romance. I will find them. Today, I don't know. You'll have to keep watching and see. If you haven't seen the first installment of my Dark Romance Diaries, I encourage you to do so. You don't have to watch them in order or anything. That's not required. This is just good fun. We're having fun. Keep in mind that since we're dealing with dark romance, we're going to be exploring. We're going to be exploring some heavier themes today. I do give the trigger warnings at the beginning of each book when I'm introducing it, but I just wanted to give you this warning up front so you can protect yourself if you want to. Proceed with caution. Heavy subjects abound. All right, we ready? Let's go. As stated in the previous video, I scoured the internet and compiled everything into a spreadsheet so that I have a place to go when I'm looking for my next dark romance read. Today I've picked 5 to explore with you. We're going to start with Pen Pal by J.T. Geissinger. So some of these books I find myself, but others find me. This one found me. Pen Pal by J.T. Geissinger is a 320-page stalker romance, first published in August 2022. It's also currently available on Kindle Unlimited. The synopsis reads, "The first letter arrived the day my husband was buried. It was postmarked from the state penitentiary and contained a single sentence. I'll wait forever if I have to. It was signed by Dante, a man I didn't know. Out of simple curiosity, I wrote back to ask him what exactly he was waiting for. His reply, you. I told the mystery man he had the wrong girl. He said he didn't. I said we'd never met. He said I was wrong. We went back and forth, exchanging letters every week that grew increasingly more intimate. Then one day, the letters stopped. When I found out why, it was already too late. Dante was at my doorstep, and nothing on earth could have prepared me for what happened next." What's gonna happen? Let's go on to the warning page that I found at the beginning of the book. This novel contains content intended for a mature audience only. Due to explicit language, graphic sex, detailed depictions of death and grief, intense power play dynamics, and other possible triggers. It is not suitable for sensitive readers. Be well. All right. Cool. Let's go. I'll meet you back here in a few, okay? Okay, try not to freak out because I'm wearing my jams. Just popping by to let you know I'm about 25% of the way in on Pen Pal by J.T. Geissinger. And I'm not real sure what's going on. There's still plenty of time. I'm only just beginning. It's not really what I thought it was going to be. I'm not having a terrible time. I just don't understand what's going on. The smut did start pretty quickly. I mean, we've already got some and it's only 25% of the way in. So that's fun, but I don't know. I feel like this is a pointless update even. I don't know what's going on and I'm just hoping to figure it out along the way. So I'll be back, I guess.
2 hours later.
I have switched locations, but I'm still reading Pen Pal by J.T. Geissinger. I'm about 45% of the way in now, and I still have no clue what the hell is going on. I will say that I thought that the smoke was going to be okay. There was aftercare and everything. This seemed consensual, if not a little, kinky and dark or whatever. But he calls her Bunny and says things like, "Open that wide," and we were so close. Other than that, I still have no idea what's going on. I really don't. It almost seems like there's a haunted aspect of this story, but that's not what the story is supposed to be about. My arm's tired. The story is said to be about a man who is writing letters from prison to this woman who recently lost her husband, and then he gets out and he comes after her. Like, where was the ghost? There's no, or I might just not be understanding what the hell's going on. Like, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe none of us know anything. Wow, that went dark. I have no idea. I simply do not know, but hopefully by the end of it I will. Wish me luck. Well, I know, and I wish I didn't. What a waste. Buckle up because this got messy really fast. So this isn't a dark romance at all. It's a paranormal erotic thriller with an incomplete list of trigger warnings and the cringiest smut I've ever read. Oh, and a plot twist that demonizes mental illness, specifically schizophrenia. Delicious. Not only did I spend the majority of this book confused, but when things finally started to click into place, I was fucking over it. It didn't start to make sense until about 75% of the way through. And not in some kind of, oh my gosh, a gradual build, I don't know what to expect. No, I was just lied to. So I'm still fairly new to the bookish community, and I wasn't here when this book originally published back in 2022. I mean, I was, but not like this. But I've heard things, and I've read things. So allegedly, here's what went down. When this book's arc started going out, there were 0 trigger warnings. Yikes. Then, when the reading community tried to call Geissinger in about this, allegedly, she didn't react so great. If you search JT Geissinger controversy on TikTok, you'll come up with a bunch of stuff, so I'm not going to get into it here. I'm just going to tell you what I do know. The current warning page on Kindle Unlimited left much to be desired. And it left out a lot of trigger warnings that I think should have been included, but it left out one big one that I want to talk to you about right now. Miscarriage. To falsely market an erotic paranormal thriller to the dark romance community, a community that primarily consists of female readers, and omit miscarriage from the trigger warnings, that is next level fuckery. The potential to do harm is so high. Why would you do this? Why? And we've all heard the argument made, if I give you the trigger warnings, it'll spoil the twist. Write a better book. Then. Anyway, after hearing the feedback from these ARC readers and the bookish community in general, Geissinger went to Pen Pal's Goodread page and left a review. Let's read that together. Dear reader, your mental health is important to me, so I'm providing a warning before you decide to proceed. This novel contains content intended for a mature audience only. It is not suitable for sensitive readers. Full list of trigger warnings on author's website. Be well. That's not a warning. That is a patronizing load of nothing. The book was a bait and switch. It was misleading and mismarketed. There were like 3 letters exchanged. It's not an inmate stalker romance. It's not even a dark romance. It's a paranormal erotic thriller. This warning seems like the author's attempt at placating the critics and getting them to shut up while simultaneously doing nothing to change or protect readers from future harm. She said, I'm providing a list of warnings so you can protect yourself, and then didn't provide anything. She didn't even provide a link to her website. She just said, go to the website for the full list. Like, you could have stood firm and said nothing, and I would have had a better impression of you at this point. Yikes. Ugh. God, it feels intentionally misleading, and like she's trying to trick people. And listen, I wasn't having a terrible time. And was the twist shocking? Sure. But anything's shocking if you're being fucking lied to. Shocking twist? Or was I just lied to and I was under the impression I was getting a different book altogether? That one. That's the one. If I tell you that I'm gonna come and give you a hug and then I punch you in the face, that's not a shocking plot twist. I'm just a liar and an asshole. Gross, man. Also, apparently this book has been picked up by a traditional publisher. Because of course it has. Bramble, apparently a blend of Tor and Macmillan. And they're publishing a limited run with Sprayed Edges of Pen Pal this year. July. Oh my god. Summer read. I also saw somewhere it was announced that the schizophrenia is going to be removed after feedback from the community. And I think that that's just swell. While that is something. Yeah, good for y'all, I guess. They're still keeping the original synopsis for the book. So now it isn't just the author that's lying and misleading people, it's the publisher too, which is super cool, I guess. I mean, Bramble did just recently publish Gothikana, so I'm not going to say anything else. This is so annoying because I can't even review the book because I'm just so frustrated with the author and now the publisher for continuing to mismarket this book as something that it's not. It's not a dark romance. It's not a man in prison sending letters to a bereaved woman and then getting out and coming to find her. It's a bait and switch with lots of really icky sex scenes. Blah. My final rating for JT Geissinger's Pen Pal is 1 star. One little measly star. Bait and switch in book form, embarrassingly bad smut, and just an all-around mess. Not to mention the problematic schizophrenia rep. Oh, but you know, good news. It won't be in the new limited edition run from Bramble. Isn't that great? Yeah, the author lost my trust and I won't be reading any more from them. So cheerio. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it down. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about Blood Orange by Karina Halle. This is book 1 in the Dracula duet. It was published October 2022. It's 314 pages and it is available on Kindle Unlimited. I went in blind on this one after seeing a TikTok about it. All I heard was vampires and I was like, say less, add to cart. But here's the synopsis in case you want to know. My heart will always find yours. Dahlia Abernathy has only known revenge. When her parents were killed at an early age by vampires, Dahlia spent the rest of her life under the thumb of the Witches Guild being trained to kill kill them. Her latest mission sends her undercover to a prestigious music academy in Venice, Italy. Her goal? To kill Professor Valtu Amanoff, her teacher and the notorious vampire who inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula. But getting close to a dangerous vampire like Professor Amanoff is one thing. Falling for him is another. With Dahlia's appearance disguised under a glamour spell, Valtu has no idea that the woman who has become his new dark obsession is actually the reincarnation of the woman he loved and lost twice before. And Dahlia doesn't remember that the very man she's been sent to kill is the love of her life. Will their love come through and transcend time once again? Or are the fated lovers destined to let history repeat itself? The content warning from the book reads, Blood Orange is a book I personally consider to be a dark romance, though I realize there are levels to dark romance and what I consider dark may be considered gray to other readers. And as such, there are content warnings that I think readers should be aware of to protect their mental health. It contains the following potentially triggering situations: explicit language and graphic sex, graphic violence, pregnancy loss on page, blood, murder, death of a spouse, male, female, non-con, minor, not between the main hero and heroine, dub-con, exhibitionism, BDSM light elements, and certain kinks including breath play, fire play, blood play, cum play, anal play, instrument play, impact play, primal kink, chasing, bondage, degradation, praise kink, and feeding, vampire style. The majority of these content warnings are in regards to the sexual acts in these books. It must be noted that this book is for adults only. This is not Twilight, lol. Please heed the warnings if recommending this to those under 18. Pretty thorough, so not bad. She used the wrong form of gray, but I'm gonna leave her alone because I have done that on occasion. Also, just a couple days ago, I put a true lime packet into my salmon rice bowl. The Twilight line made me giggle, and the fact that she acknowledges that there are different levels of dark romance, and instead of omitting the trigger warnings altogether and being like, it's not that dark, you'll be fine, she went on to detail them anyway. When faced with a choice on how to do this, she opted for being safe rather than sorry. And I must say, it's nice after the lies we just went through. I'm feeling better already. Thank you for this. Enjoy the updates, and I'll catch you back here in a bit.
Okay. Oh God. Okay. So, listen to me. I'm not even going to sit up. This is so important that parents be damned. Okay. I am reading Blood Orange by Karina Halle, and it is vampires. You know, I love vampires. You know, I love them so much. The very first, I'm only 12% in. I'm sorry. Let me calm down. So I'm only 12% of the way in. And the book started very differently than where we're at currently. So on the first few pages, we're back in time. We're like, I don't know when. I'm not going to go back and look either. But we were back in time, and there's like obviously a forbidden love affair going on. They're meeting in secret, and then tragedy befalls them, right? And it's vampires. Have I mentioned? Then the chapters start, and it's dual POV between the main male character and the female main character, and which is fine, great, love it. And the man is a vampire, and the girl is a witch. Naturally, you know, I'm having a good time. And then we get to this part where Valtu, the vampire, is at an underground like vampire sex dungeon club thing where he is worshipped because apparently he is like the vampire. He is the one to be and the one to be with or on or under. Stop. And this girl is pleasuring him, and she's like, feed from me. Then we get to this part. I'm gonna read to you. Are you excited? I slide down against the chair so that her ass is in my face, her head at my cock again. A 69. First of all, I didn't need that explained, but whatever. I'm willing to let that go because there's worse. Booty all up in his face. And then I lean forward enough to sink my fangs into the soft flesh of her ass. I groan as the blood rushes into my mouth, enveloping me. Are you telling me? Okay. What happened to old reliable? Like I am, you know, A for creativity. However, what happened to just sinking into someone's neck? I have never in my life heard of such a thing. You're telling me he chomped down on her booty, her gluteus maximus, and that's how he's feeding from her? You know, you'd think I'd like it. You'd think I would, but I don't. But so far, that's the only thing I needed to tell you about. I will come back when I get a little further in, and maybe I'll be a little bit more chill then. Probably not, but we'll see.
A few moments later.
It's a new day, and I'm still reading Blood Orange by Karina Halle. I apologize if I keep getting it wrong. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit further in now, and I'm kind of settled down. I got over the initial shock of the butt feeding. You know, I don't like to spoil the things I like. I don't like to spoil the things I hate so that maybe you won't read them. Look how I'm glowing. Vampires just really do it for me. I love the witch. What the fuck is her name? Dahlia. I love Dahlia. I
love Vol 2. I love that he's a vampire. I love that she's a witch. I love that it's kind of dark academia a little bit. And she's like a pianist and he's her music teacher, but not like that. They're not in high school or anything. And I like the setting and how they like involve music into some of their things. I also like the storyline and the timeline. I feel like it's up to something, you know what I mean? And I like where we're headed. So initially I was kind of bummed out that we skipped ahead like hundreds of years from the original, like whenever you breathe, I breathe, love, like kind of dynamic. And I was a little bit like, oh, I don't want to be in present day when I could be back then and be like a classy bitch, but I'm growing okay with it. So okay that I think I'm going to read the second book. Sweet child of mine, welcome back. I had a lot of fun with this one. It was touch and go there for a bit, I'm not gonna lie. The first chapter was kind of confusing to me because it was Vol 2 writing his story from like centuries ago, and so you get sucked back into that world through the epistolary style, and I thought that was what we were gonna get throughout the whole book, him writing down memories of his life lived before, because remember, I didn't read the synopsis, I went in blind. So that was a little jarring to go from him recounting these things in a time of class and corsets and forbidden love affairs. But it wasn't bad, it was just different than what I was expecting. From there though, I got a little neck ache because of all the whiplash. I was excited to meet Dahlia and get to know a little bit more about her, but then you cut to Vol 2 biting down on the booty meat of some random in a club so he could feed off of her, which I, again, have never seen that before. I know erotic feeding is like a thing or whatever, but a butt munch? Huh. Then we got introduced to Vol 2's best friend, who is named Beatrice, and I giggled because what? But then I did what I usually yell at y'all to do more of, and I googled it. It's a Nigerian name and it means the Rock of Salvation, which is very fitting for who Beatrice's character was in the story. For once, I was the dumb misinformed one for a split second, so feel free to point and laugh. But you only get one of those a year, bud, and the year has just begun, so keep that in mind. I connected with these characters both individually and as a couple, which is just so lovely, because more often than not in the dark romances that I've been reading, I hate one or both of the main characters. And that really detaches me from a story in general. So it's nice to have characters and a couple that I feel like I can root for. I liked the dark academia setting too. And I didn't mind the student-teacher thing because they're both of age. I mean, it's still a little gray, but these are vampires and I let things go when vampires are involved. I had a good time overall. I mean, the butt munching certainly did give me a pause for a little bit. Random shifts in tone throughout the book were kind of jarring for me too, and the ending, didn't love that. So all of those things took away from the overall enjoyment for me, and so with all of that said, I gave Blood Orange by Karina Halle 3 stars. And even though it was a 3-star, I went ahead and downloaded the second book in the duet, and I read it already. So that's something. I liked it enough to instantly keep going and see if it got better or if it stayed the course. And let me tell you, it is something maybe I'll tell you about in the next episode. For now, let's move on to the next book. Actually, let me take a quick break to have some Diet Coke. Delicious. Next up, I'm going to be discussing Grimstone by Sophie Lark. This is a dark gothic-y romance set in a strange town called Grimstone. It was published October 2023, so just a few months ago. It's 362 pages, and it's also available on Kindle Unlimited. Let's read the synopsis. Remy Hayes is beginning to think she's cursed. Her fiancé cheated on her, her brother Jude is a major pain in her ass, and the moldering mansion she inherited from her uncle might just be haunted. Flipping Blackleaf Manor already feels impossible, even before Remy is blackmailed by Dane Covet, the dangerously hot doctor next door and Grimstone's most eligible bachelor. If you can ignore the fact that the entire town thinks he murdered his wife. Remy doesn't want to believe it, especially after Dane sews up a gash in her thigh and steals a kiss in payment. A kiss that makes it hard to walk for reasons that have nothing to do with an injured leg. But as the renovation takes a strange and violent turn, Remy must decide if Dane is the one haunting her nights, or if he's just trying to protect her from something much worse. The warning page given to us by Sophie Lark reads, "This is an extremely dark romance with dark moods and themes. It contains on and off page content that may be triggering for some, including kinky sex, assault, violence, death of a child, and suicide." There's also a fun little map, and as someone who doesn't enjoy fantasy, so I never get maps, I love maps. Suicide, okay, so kinky sex, yeah. It's pretty much, she covered pretty much all of it. She didn't have to like dump a whole bunch of stuff in here. It was a darker book, but I think
this covers it pretty well, so well done. I was in it to win it on this one, okay? I picked up Grimstone after seeing it on Sophie Lark's Instagram. I've read Sophie Lark before, and I really enjoyed what I read. Specifically, I loved There Are No Saints, which is a serial unaliver smut romance kind of thing. And I read it once a year ago, and then once last year, just to be sure I liked it, because I changed my mind a lot. But I can confirm I liked it, so I was very excited about this one. It has everything I like. Weird town, creepy house, hot neighbor next door who might be secretly dangerous in some way. Count me in. Not a word about the hair, okay? We can be adults, right? So I reached for Grimstone by Sophie Lark last year. It came out in October 2023, but I think I grabbed it November, maybe, I don't know. I picked it up initially because I liked There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark so much, and this one seemed like it had the vibes I was looking for. There's a really creepy house that everything is set in. The main character seems like a girl I would talk to and be friends with, but she's like raising her brother, or she has raised her brother. Her parents died tragically, and she's been like the main provider. She inherits this creepy house from a deceased uncle, and there's a weird pale doctor man living next door who the town thinks killed his wife and son. So that's a lot to build a story on, but I'm not tearing through it the way I thought I would, which is disappointing. But ultimately, I'm still only a quarter of the way through. This could still turn around. This could really take off, and I'm hoping for that. So welcome back. This book took me a long time to finish, like 2 months on this, which is not my usual pace. Especially because I expected to finish it in one sitting the way I did her other books. It didn't hook me the way I thought it was going to, which is very disappointing. It was interesting enough, and I really liked all the illustrations in the ebook. She added illustrations retroactively to the Saints and Sinners books as well, and those really elevated the story, so I enjoyed these too. They were really pretty to look at. But man, this story just fell so flat, and it was so slow, or it felt slow. There were also a few plot holes and characters that were introduced, and I really thought that they were going to be a bigger part of the story than they were, and they just ended up being disregarded. And there was one thing specifically about Dane, the hot doctor neighbor, that I'm not going to spoil in case you do want to read it. There was something that I anticipated with his character that never came to fruition and was never explained otherwise either. So you know what? It could have been explained, and I had already zoned out. I'm not saying that's not a possibility here, but as far as my reading experience of this went, I don't recall it being explained, and that was very odd. And the ending, I did not see coming. I didn't, and I can admit that. Though looking back now, it does make sense. But even though I didn't see it coming, I think by that point, I was no longer interested in the outcome anyway. So, it was fine. I just didn't feel pulled in and immersed in this story the way I wanted to. The plot holes, the weirdness, the cringy smut lines like, his cock springs out like a white cobra, thick with veins. Stuff like that only took me out of the story further. So with all of that in mind, I ended up giving Grimstone 2 stars. Next up, we are rolling, huh? We have Carving for Cara by Melissa McSherry and Dana Leanne. TikTok struck again with this dark Halloween romance novella. It was published October 2023, so just a few months ago. It's 128 pages long, and it is also available on Kindle Unlimited. We are really hitting the jackpot with these today. Let's read the synopsis. He's my predator and I am his prey. Tonight he's starving for a taste of what's his. It was Halloween, my favorite time of year. I had my dream job as a tattoo artist, a loyal best friend, and an ex who happily tended to my needs without complicating our arrangement with feelings. Everything was going great until Devil's Night, when the masked man watched me from the shadows like a predator stalking his next meal, and that's what I was, his prey. Already said that. Like any natural-born predator, he was bloodthirsty, staking his claim to me before I could see the face behind the mask. He wasn't afraid to kill for a bite of what he craved, even if it meant shedding the blood of those closest to me. Once he had a taste, he hungered for more, and the more he needed it, the more I wanted to give it to him. The trigger warnings as listed in the book. Your mental health matters. Read this page in its entirety. The book contains, but is not limited to, content depicting violence, gore, explicit language, knife play, consensual, non-consensual sex, sexual assault, restriction, stalking, mutilation, and the death of a side character. Praise, mention of addiction, marijuana use, gagging, excessive force, choking, and explicit sex scenes. This book is not intended for readers under the age of 18. Read with caution. Your mental health matters. The book you're about to read is dark and not recommended for all readers. Read through the trigger warnings once more. Then decide if you should continue on with this book. The content within this book is heavy. Triggers, violence, gore, explicit language, knife play, consensual, non-consensual sex, sexual assault, restriction, stalking, mutilation and death of a side character, praise, mention of addiction, use, gagging, excessive force, choking, and explicit sex scenes. You have been warned. And you know what? I actually feel like I was. Along with the fact that they were thorough in this, they also recommended that the readers read this over a couple of times before proceeding. But I wanted to point out something else that I appreciated about this particular warning. Someone recently left a comment on one of my videos, and they talked about how frustrating it is when you see a list of trigger warnings, but they're all using these internet abbreviations. Most people might not know if they're not reading fanfic actively, a member of the bookish community, chronically online, or into BDSM at all. Because if you are not engaging in any of that stuff I just mentioned, you don't know what some of these abbreviations mean. And I never thought about it before I got that comment, but I absolutely agree. And I do think that just going that little extra step helps cover all of your bases and potentially protect someone from harm. They did that. I like it. I really like Halloween too. So let's hope that this festive little read doesn't let me down. So, I was sent by my friend Heather at Sacred Heart Book Reviews a dark romance Halloween novella, Carving for Cara. Can y'all see this? It's written by Melissa McSherry and Dana Leanne, and I have some questions for y'all if you have a moment. First of all, the cover says, "Run, little nightmare," and I can't. I'm so tired. And then the back says, "He's my predator and I'm his prey. Tonight he's starving for a taste of what's his." Sure. The dedication reads, "For the girls who dream of being chased through a cornfield by a masked man, then fucked in the pumpkin patch when he catches you." So that's not a dream I have, but if you've had that dream, I have a book for you. Aside from the physical copy being gorgeous, I love the black pages. I think I hate this. The main character's name is obviously Cara. It's dual POV with her and Rhett, who, you guessed it, is the masked man who chases her in a cornfield. So the main character, Cara, makes eye contact with a hot man in a coffee shop who is a hacker CIA man. Of course he is. Instantly, the man is like, "She sees me, she knows me, she's mine." I'm so tired. I'm not loving it, but I have conditions. It's a conditional dislike because I think that this is satire. God help me if it's not. But lines like this have me thinking that it is. If this is satire, well done, almost, maybe. If it's not satire, so it goes, I guess. But I reserve my judgment and the right to change my mind. My full judgment. Of course, I'm going to judge a little bit. So far, it's every dumb dark romance that I've ever read except Halloween. So, we'll see.
A few moments later.
Hold my calls. What? Hold on. Not a Jacob's ladder. Oh. Not a bumpy girth. Okay, so the circumstances have changed a little bit because I got a little further. I hate this. I hate this book. I don't like it, which is a shame because of how pretty it is. What are you gonna do? Not everything that glitters is gold, as they say. Little curveball I didn't expect there. And no, not the Jacob's Ladder. Of course, this psychotic, leather-clad, motorcycle riding chode has a Jacob's Ladder. We'll talk about it later. I have to finish it. Oh dear. So, as I said earlier, this is a novella, meaning that it's a shorter read. So I'm not going to spoil it for you. I'm not going to give you a whole bunch to work with. If you do want it spoiled, there is a live stream up on my channel right now where I read through and do dramatic readings and we talk about the book. I do also plan to do a deep dive on it when it gets closer to the holidays, just to get us in the mood. But for now, all I'm going to say is this was bad. Tacky, cheesy, felt like satire. I just have a hard time believing that not one but two noggins came together and seriously wrote this. All I know is that the entire time I was reading it, I thought to myself, they can't be serious, but I fear they might be. However, I can't say for sure, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. So conditionally, if this is satire, 3 stars. If it's not, 1. So let's call it even with a solid 2-star rating for Carving for Cara. We are rounding out this list with, you guessed it, more vampires. The Wanderers by Nikki Robb is a 201-page dark why choose romantasy with vampires. And great news, it's book 1 in the Nameless series and available on Kindle Unlimited. The synopsis reads, Nameless is a faceless entity of vampire hunters who have devoted their lives to ridding the world of the undead creatures that haunt the night. Orpheus, Silas, Laz, and Samara have been on the run for years, feeding only when necessary, hiding, staying vigilant, staying alive. All their careful planning and all of the contingencies fall to the wayside the moment they meet Athena Landry, a human. Suddenly, they are willing to risk their lives to be near her, but will their presence risk her life as well? And the trigger warnings. This novel includes and alludes to things that may be concerning, such as murder, vampires, blood drinking, graphic sex, assault, rape, cancer, death of a parent and family member, non-consensual sexual encounters, victim blaming, panic attacks, PTSD, discrimination, hate crimes, parental neglect, and disowning. Please consider these before continuing. Cool synopsis, pretty cover, complete list of trigger warnings, vampires, I'm in. Get in, loser, we're going reading. Back again with more vampires. I picked up The Wanderers by Nikki Robb. Where did I get this book? Well, from TikTok. Why did I choose this book among the many millions of books that I hear about on the regular? Well, I'll tell you, the dedication. To those of you who wanted Bella to get down and dirty with all of the Cullens. So yeah, I got it, and I'm having fun with it. I'm about halfway in. I don't love everything that's going on. I do like the dynamics. This is the first time I think I've read a Why Choose that didn't want to make me put my head through a wall. So far, so good. I'm loving the rep. There's non-binary characters. There's a little girl on girl. I also really like how the story discusses grief. I think it's been very well done. So far, some of the smut is fine, and other parts of it are like, I'm along for the ride. It's vampires, for crying out loud. So, yeah, those are my thoughts right now. We'll see. Well, that was fun. As I said, I didn't love everything. The phrase heavy petting came up and immediately took the winds out of my sail. Absolutely no thank you. Forever. Also, like at one point, a vampire was like, if my heart still beat, it would beat for her. And then a couple chapters later said, I felt my heart race. Well, which one is it, buddy? Also, the smut scenes at times were pretty confusing for me, but that's just probably because I'm not good at keeping up with that many people and I don't read a lot of Why Choose. I tend to get them all mixed up. And I'm not even saying that Robb did a bad job differentiating each vampire from the next. That's not the issue. The issue is me. It's not you, it's me. I'm not good with that many people at once in any form. I liked the queer representation. The dedication was a good time. I appreciated the way grief was discussed. I think that was handled with care. So was the essay and the after effects that usually come along with something so tragic. I think that Robb did a good job discussing all of these without being careless and just shoving them in for shock value. We see that a lot. So this was nice. I really liked Athena too. And usually when I like the female main character, I end up moderately liking the book because it gives me someone to connect to and to root for, and I was rooting for Athena. The sequel to this is already out. It's called The Fallout, and the third installment comes out June 2024, so just a few months from now. I didn't fall head over heels for this book, but I did enjoy it while I was in it. And I would read on in the series. I plan to, so that's exciting. It was decent. I had fun, so my final rating for The Wanderers is 3 stars. All right, my second installment of Dark Romance Diaries. How are we feeling? Before you click away, I want to rank them for you. I also think this might be a good time to remind any of you who liked this to like it, share it, subscribe, hit that little bell so you turn notifications on so you don't miss anything. You guys got me to 6,000 subs last week, and as of releasing this, who knows how many subs I have? Actually, I do. Future me will edit it in post right here. Yikes. No, seriously, I'm overwhelmed. As a thank you for all of that, I started reading a special little bonus project for you for a future deep dive rant review because we've been getting to know each other this past year and I know that you're gonna like this. I also have a shop and I recently added a couple new designs to it, so if you wanted to check that out, I would really appreciate it. Actually, in a previous life, before I was a booktuber, I was actually an artist and I made and sold stuff in my own store. I've kind of downsized now, but I do get to still create and make things for you here on this channel, so check that out. It would really mean a lot to me. Go look, peruse, shop around while I tell you my ranking of these 5 books we've just gone over. Let's start with the book I liked the least. Coming in at number 5 is Pen Pal by J.T. Geissinger with 1 star. This wasn't terribly written. If you rewind, you won't hear me say that it was. Had I not been lied to and misled by a baseless synopsis and an incomplete list of trigger warnings, it may have gotten a better rating. First impressions are important, and while I believe in second chances, it would take a lot for me to give one to this author. So instead, I just opt out of all future endeavors. Such a shame. In 4th place, we have Carving for Cara by Dana Leanne and Melissa McSherry with 2 stars, tentatively. Tentative 2 stars. And I want to have faith that this tacky Halloween stalker romance novella is more tongue-in-cheek and less fist-to-face, but judging by both of their bodies of work and the types of books they tend to write, I haven't read them, I just looked at some of the synopses. It does seem like they consider themselves to be dark romance authors and not comedians. I think I would try reading their stuff again in the future, but not happily. Also, one more thank you to Heather for my beautiful copy of this terrible book. I love it. even though I hate it. In third place, smack dab in the middle, was Grimstone by Sophie Lark with 2-ish stars. Jury's still out. I don't know. This was the most disappointing of the bunch just because I had high hopes since I like other works from this author. My expectations were high. When it fell flat, it sucked extra hard. The setting, the circumstances, the creepy hot next door neighbor, and the artwork throughout this book were definitely high points. However, the pacing, the plot holes, and the cringy smut were low points for sure. I'd still read more from Sophie though, because I believe in her ability to write a decent story. This one just wasn't for me. Now, the last two books in the ranking are always such a pickle for me because I liked them both. I had problems with both. I had fun with both. They both had vampires. So what will be the deciding factor? How will I figure this out? Well, both of these are book one in series, one of which I felt the need to instantly read, and the other, I haven't gotten around to it yet. So that puts The Wanderers by Nikki Robb in the number 2 spot with 3 stars. I did have so much fun with this one. Vampires, wide shoes, queer non-binary characters, clear trigger warnings and a funny dedication, proper care when dealing with topics like SA, PTSD, loss, and grief. I enjoyed the story, and more than that, I trust the author, so I'll read more from her in the future for sure. But that means that the number 1 spot on this episode of Dark Romance Diaries belongs to Blood Orange by Karina Halle with 3-ish stars. The reason that this vampire romance took the number 1 spot from a 4 vampires in 1 book comes down to vehemence. Passion. While it was touch and go and I wasn't really sure how I felt about it, I felt whatever it was intensely enough to instantly start reading the second book in the duet. Even though reading this, I was met with happiness hills and oh no valleys. I still picked up the second book and kept reading. I liked it. I felt concerned. I was unsettled, confused, enticed. And then I came back to liking it again. My emotions were all over the place, even up until the last pages, especially in the last pages. But I felt enough, again, to pick up the second book and keep going. I needed my questions answered. And that is a lot. That's a big deal for me. I'm not a series girl. It had issues, it had cheese, but for me to blaze ahead in such a way, it's a big deal. I absolutely plan on reading more from Karina Halle. I may have already downloaded a dark romance Sleepy Hollow reimagining. Sleepy Hollow retelling. Sleepy Hollow, if you didn't hear me. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this second installment of my Dark Romance Diaries. I hope it was entertaining and fun. I had fun. Maybe not the whole time, but being here with you right now, this is my fun. This is what's special. This is what makes all the pain I put myself through worth it in the end. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps boost my channel and I can really use all the help I can get. I'm still a small little baby over here. Thank you so much for getting me to whatever number of subscribers I have popped up on the screen here. I guarantee that in reality, I'm in disbelief. It's still so crazy to me that I get to create content for you weirdos to enjoy. I really do love it. It's so much fun. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything in the future. I have a lot of fun things planned for you for this year, but in the more immediate future, there is a rant coming your way that I know that you have been dying for. Even if you didn't know it, I'm telling you. If you enjoy my content and want a way to support the channel, you can join and be a member here and you get early access to videos. I also have a Patreon and a Coffee page where you can support me and get early access to videos on top of other perks. All the links are below. I appreciate you, weirdo. Boop. Thanks for sticking around. Let me know if you want to see deep dive rant reviews on any of the ones we've discussed today. Some of them are very good candidates for a rant review. Others I don't feel like I have a lot to say, but I could try. For you, I will. Take care. Happy reading. Stay weird. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.